everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Inside the RC. Guys, since we last talked to you, the Bonnies have a whole new team, basically. The only players that stayed from the Bonnies were Ilya Ermakov, Khalil Lunati, Jonik Potokin, and Joe Grahovic. Other than that, guys, the Bonnies have an entire new look roster. Last time you guys heard from us, Akbar Wahid III, as well as Benjamin Bill and Zach Filipkowski, were all coming on official visits. All three of them committed to Bonaventure. We are very happy to have them here. All look like very solid players in their respective roles. As always, myself, Chris, Curtis over here right with me. So, guys, this episode is going to be pretty simple. We're going to go through and give you a rundown of all these players so you guys know what to look forward to in the brown and white next season.
Yeah, I think this breakdown is going to show that this team might not be the most talented this year, but it's a good foundation that Coach McDonald's building for his recruiting and transfer portal ads of what he wants this program, what direction he wants it to go. And I think the direction he wants it to go is one that will excite a lot of Bonaventure fans.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But first, before we get into the new guys, let's start with the returners. Who do we have that has played in the RC before, knows the team a little bit? Let's start with Joe Grahovic. Joe Grahovic had one of the more up and down seasons, I would say. He had his moments where you're like, Joe, what are you doing out there? But at the same time, he had some moments where you're like, damn, this guy could be a really good basketball player. He ended the season shooting a very good, and I don't know about very good, 36% from three on limited attempts. But you saw the flashes of Joe. You saw the flashes in some games. I believe the one game that sticks out to me was against Duquesne. Against Duquesne, he had a really good game. And hold on, let me find those stats real quick. Yes, it was at Duquesne. At Duquesne, he only had 9 points and 5 rebounds, but also only in 19 minutes. But in that limited action, you saw the flashes. He had a nice fast break dunk. He made a three. You saw the flashes of him, and you just hope that he can continue to develop as a player and be successful this season because fans love him, crowd loves him, everyone cheers every time he checks into the game. And I think if he can play a bigger role for us than he did last year, then that is just the start of the success for this team.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like Grahovic showed a lot of upside in that Duquesne game. The Duquesne announcers were glazing him. Every single move he made, they were complimenting. He has a lot of potential. I feel like a lot of Bonaventure fans were disappointed in him because he came in speculated to be one of the more expensive NIL players and didn't perform to those expectations. But you have to remember, just a couple of years ago, he had played no organized basketball.
Yeah.
It's going to come to him quickly, I think. And when he reaches that potential, he could be a scary threat. We saw his shooting, and we're seeing his development down low and creating plays. And defensively, he's a block machine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's
So
very good.
he'll be a great piece in the backcourt, and he's dangerous with the three. This team might be a group of guys that are dangerous with that three ball.
Yeah, definitely. Another guy who can shoot the three ball, Ilya Ermakov, who had very limited opportunities, had an injury middle of the season. But his best game as a Bonnie was one that you and I were actually attending, and that was at University of Buffalo. He had 12 points off the bench, 2 of 5 from three, 63% from the field, and he got 22 minutes off the bench, which in a Mark Schmidt run offense, that's very impressive. Mm-hmm. And you saw it. You saw it that game. He made a couple transition threes. He was getting to the rack, getting to his shot, and he just looked comfortable out there. I mean, another one who you have to be patient with. This kid is a freshman coming over here from Russia, coming to Olean, New York. I mean, it's got to be a little bit of a culture shock, I can imagine. So you hope that with another year, another off season to develop, he can continue to get better. But as we're looking at the depth chart projection from our good friend SBN Furl, thank you to him for posting on Twitter. Great account. I assume if you guys are here, you probably follow him, but make sure to follow SBN Furl if you do not already. And he has Ilya listed as the backup point guard right now, which I personally love that role for him. It's not a role where he's forced to be the guy, but it's a role where on any given night he could be the guy. He could be that guy dropping 20 off the bench, dropping 10, or even having a couple assists a night, or different roles where he's not forced to be the primary ball handler for 35 minutes a night. where like last year he was scared to make a mistake almost. He definitely played very timid, and I think that was a trend with a lot of the freshmen last year. They all seemed
Yeah.
kind of worried to make a mistake.
Yeah, I feel like Ilya, we barely saw any of him. He only played 9 games, but in those 9 games, he shot 42% from the three. That's an insane number. And if he's able to recreate even just a portion of that in a full season, he could be another scary part of this Bonaventure offense that I think might be seeing a lot of 3-pointers being shot.
Mhm.
But with Achille Lonati, he's also returning. I think this has to be a bounce back year for him. Again, he was one of the freshmen, pretty timid playing, but his numbers weren't good. He has to bounce back. Maybe under this new offense, he will, but he now has a year of experience under his belt. He knows the A10. He knows American basketball now because
Mhm.
he's another guy coming over from Europe.
Exactly.
So I think he's in for a big bounce back season. He's got a lot of potential. He was great in Europe. I think this shows up next year. He'll be great here in the brown and white.
He had a couple good games last year. The one that I vividly remember was the first home game of the year at the RC against Canisius. He had 13 points off the bench, 3 of 6 from three, 5 of 8 from the field, good for 13 points, 2 assists, and a rebound. Like that's a very good stat line
Mhm.
right there in his second ever college basketball game. And then against FAU, a game over Thanksgiving break that the Bonnies only won by 5 points. He had 13 points and was 2 of 5. And 2 of 5 from 2 of 5 from the free throw line. That's not very good. Needs to work on that. But 3 of 4 from 3-point range. I mean, that's elite stuff right there. I mean, that's like the kid can shoot the ball. I think it was a little bit of a problem, like when you're only playing. Like, look at these numbers.
He only averaged 8.2 minutes.
Yeah, like it's hard to get into a groove offensively when you're not playing that much time. It
100%.
cannot be easy.
And there was 5 games where he didn't play. I
Mhm.
feel like it was impossible for him to get in a groove with this Mark Schmidt offense where he didn't go deep in the bench. So it'd be really interesting to see how deep Coach McDonald goes. Because right now, I feel like it's not a very top heavy team, but there's a good amount of depth on this Bonaventure team that it might be an advantage of McDonald's to go deep in that bench. And maybe that's where Lenati shines, coming off the bench, getting maybe 10 to 12 minutes a night instead of 8.
Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna check that didn't stop because my phone was on do not disturb and my fucking dad called me. Hopefully it didn't stop. All right, we're still going. I didn't know if it would like fuck it up, so I'm just gonna continue. I'm gonna say how like everyone on this could start basically. Yeah, Curtis, I definitely agree with you. And looking at this depth chart projection, any of these guys in the second row, I could see starting for this team. Ilya Ermakov, Akbar Wahid, Ari Fulton, who is the newest commit from the Bonnies from NJIT. We'll get into him later. Great player. Love that addition. And Ryan Calambi, who is one of the best rebounders in the country. So any of those four guys could earn a starting role, and it's going to be very interesting to see how things play out because these guys get together in the summer. They're gonna play together, and Coach McDonald, who is a great coach, is gonna see who is gonna give us the best chance to win. But at the same time, he can't be afraid to use the bench because we are gonna have at least. I mean, look at these. At least 4 or 5 of these guys are going to be coming off the bench every night. Hopefully, more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need to use you if they're going to have a full bench, use it, please. I really want them to use the bench this year. And if somebody gets hurt, now obviously you never want that to happen, but we have guys here that can play a lot of roles, like a Mason Blackwood, for example, or an Ari Fulton. These guys can play the 2, the 3, even the 4 if you need them to, if you're running a small lineup. And that's the thing about having these versatile wing guys that can guard a lot of people, that can switch a lot of matchups, that just gives you an advantage as a coach.
Yeah, 100%. Going, we also have one more returner. John, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name.
Podokin, I think.
Podokin. He redshirted this year with Schmidt. So we don't know much about him, but watching him in the layup lines, watching him, his like highlights, he's a freak athlete.
Yeah.
So if this guy can bring that athleticism and it translate into the game of basketball, he could be another guy that's scary because no one knows much about him, and he's just a freak athlete. He could be a huge addition to this Bonaventure team.
Yeah, and he stayed here. So obviously he doesn't have any film, so it's hard to really get recruited anywhere. But that shows me something. That shows that he has faith in McDonald and faith in this team. The kid's 6'7", 180 pounds, big forward. He could play a lot of roles. Like another big wing who can play a 2, play a 3, play a 4, do a lot of different things as a team. And like you said, in layup lines, he would throw down some crazy windmill dunks, some crazy between the legs, all sorts of stuff. And that gets people's attention one way or another. Even if it's layup line, that gets people's attention because you're like, whoa, that guy is a freak athlete. I want to get, I want to see what he's about. But now let's get into the new players. We're gonna go from oldest edition to newest edition. So we're gonna start with the first guy that the Bonnies got in the transfer portal, and that was Benjamin Bill. Benjamin Bill was a great start for the Bonnies to get. He's a Western New York native. He's a 6'8" center who played at Damon with Coach McDonald. He averaged 17 points and 8 rebounds and was also D2 All-American. He was the cornerstone of this offense for McDonald at Damon. He was the guy. He's been there for a couple years, and like I said, D2 All-American, 6'8" center. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Frank Mitchell, 6'8" center, kind of back to the basket, big. Had a very good shooting percentage. I believe it was in the 60s, maybe even 70% from the field. Very good field goal percentage, and I'm very excited to see how he plays with his coach.
Yeah, he shot 69% from the field, but that's actually a step back from what he did last year. Last year, his sophomore season, he shot 71%. Wow. So this guy, he doesn't have a 3 ball, but he reminds me a lot of Frank Mitchell. Yeah. He doesn't have the same size as Mitchell, a little bit smaller, but he's still a big guy. And he just has that magical touch around the rim. And I think he could be a huge addition. And he is going to play some solid minutes here at Bonaventure. And I think he's a guy that can make that transition from D2 to D1 pretty easily.
Yeah, because obviously I've been seeing it. You've probably been seeing it. You guys watching have probably been seeing it. A lot of people online are saying the same thing about the Bonnies. How are these random guys going to mesh together? You got D2 guys. You got JUCO guys. You got these guys who don't seem like they would mesh together well on paper. And that's where Coach McDonald comes into play. That's your job as a coach. Get these guys in together, get them to like each other, get them familiar with each other. And at the end of the day, it's a transfer portal era. You're going to be playing with new teammates pretty much every year, unless you're very lucky and go to an incredible school. But a lot of teams are going to have a new starting 5 every single year. I mean, we're looking at a completely new starting 5 for the Bonnies from last year, besides Joe, who eventually came off the bench. And it's just kind of ridiculous, but it's how the transfer portal era is. Moving on, Benjamin Bill's teammate from Damon will stay his teammate in the brown and white, Zach Filipkowski. He is a 6'4" guard, another upstate New York native. He averaged 17.7 rebounds and 4 assists at Damon. Also shot 42% from 3, and he was named the ECC Player of the Year this past season at Damon. Just a good big guard who can do a little bit of everything. Yes, he can shoot the 3-ball well, but that's not all he can do. I watched his highlights. If you guys have not, I suggest you do the same on his Instagram and on YouTube, everything like that. This kid can get to the bucket. He can get a basket when you need him to. And I thought Benjamin Bill was the best player on Damon when I was first looking at their roster. I think Zach was the best player on Damon last season. You could argue Ben Bill the year before, but Zach Filipkowski last year, 17, 7, and 4 on 42% from 3. Those are elite numbers right there.
Yeah, he was for sure one of their best players, if not their best. But bringing in that 1-2 punch of Zach and Bill here to Bonas with McDonald, that's huge. These guys both have. Zach has 3 years of experience with McDonald. Ben has 4 because he sat out a year redshirting. So these guys know McDonald and his system, and they've both succeeded in his system. So being able to bring over that success to Bonaventure when he's starting this new job is huge. Not only will he be able to have 2 of his key guys run his offense here at Bonaventure, but he'll see some of the products of his coaching. Like, we have a lot of freshmen or a lot of sophomores with red shirts. Like, this is a pretty young team compared to what it was last year. So seeing the success from Zach and Bill that McDonald has had, maybe some of these younger guys will stay because they want that development that McDonald was able to do for those 2 guys.
Yeah, that's exactly I think that's the way that McDonald and his coaching staff is trying to go about this. They're trying to get guys who are from around here, who really buy into the system and guys who want to play at Bonaventure. That's the key.
Yeah,
You don't want guys who want to use this as just a quick pit stop. You want guys who want to play here and truly love playing here. Because at the end of the day, that's what Bonds basketball is about. You want the fans to get into it. Because at the end of the year last year, we talked about it before. Fans were not into it. It was bad. It was not good basketball. And if these guys get bought into the system, I know a lot of these guys are from around the same place. A lot of Rochester, a lot of Western New York guys. If they can get bought into the system, we can have a very fun team on our hands.
100%. But going to your point, we have to focus on more of a retention instead of a stopping point, like a little
Mhm.
pit stop.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the money to be able to compete as a pit stop
Oh,
school.
exactly.
Some of these other schools in the A10, they have the NIL funds where they can pay a guy a ton of money to come in for 1 year, then go Power 5.
Hmm.
We don't have that kind of
No,
money
we
to be able
don't.
to pay to form a talented team. We could, like last year, we had a couple guys like Buddy Simmons.
Hmm.
He went from Bonaventure to the Power 5 at Villanova. He made a great adjustment, but we don't have the money to make a team full of Buddy Simmons.
Yeah,
We have the
exactly.
money to make a team like this, where maybe after a couple of years, these guys are competing for an A10 championship. But I wouldn't expect anything this first year.
Yeah. Like you said, the expectations definitely have to be like not necessarily low, but don't expect this team to have 30 wins, all that stuff, you
Mm.
know. But let's get back into the new players. So when you guys last heard from us, Benjamin Bill, Zach Filipkowski, and Akbar Wahid III were all coming on visits the following weekend to Bonaventure. Zach committed, Bill committed, and so did Akbar Wahid. He was the third commit, 3 of 3 for Mike McDonald and staff. Kind of saw this one coming. His dad is new assistant coach here at Bonds. Akbar Wahid is obviously, like I said, an assistant coach here. And we don't know much about Akbar Wahid III. He's a 6'5" guard, so a big guard. He redshirted at Boston College, and from what I heard on Twitter and stuff, he did not he didn't play because Boston College had a lot of veteran guards. But towards the end of the season, the coach said, Coach Grant at Boston College said he was one of the best guards there, but they didn't want to play him because they wanted to save his eligibility. So shout out to the Boston College coach. That's impressive right there to see that Wahid got better, but to let him keep his eligibility. And I think he could be a breakout candidate for the Bonnies. I've watched. He's gone to like open runs at like Boston University and stuff, and I've been watching him on Instagram. This kid can hoop. This kid's really good. He can create his own shot. He can get to the rack whenever he wants to, and just looks like a very solid basketball player at all 3 levels.
Yeah, I feel like we don't know too much about him, but he was a four-star coming out of high school.
Exactly.
Committed to Boston College, which, like you said, they had a lot of depth at the guard position.
Mm-hmm.
But Boston College had a pretty unsuccessful year. They went 11-20, 4-14 in the ACC. So there was no point of playing this freshman.
Yeah, exactly.
If they weren't going to start him at the start of the year, they made the right call of letting him redshirt the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, we're the team that gets to benefit from that because he'll come in as a freshman. He'll have 4 years. Who knows? Maybe he'll stay all 4 years with his dad.
Be nice.
That would be a great piece if he's able to stay even 2 years, maybe 3.
Yeah.
That would just be a great addition to this team.
Yeah, at this point, I think it was Woj that said it last year. You're building a team for 2 years. You're not looking 4 years ahead. At this point, you're building a team for 2 years because that's what transfer portal is. You got to hope you can get 2 years out of a guy, and then after that, you're just playing with fire. You just got to hope to get lucky at that point. But yeah, Akbar Wahid definitely will be a great player. I just gotta see it. I gotta see it in person to really see how good he really is. But next up, someone I'm very excited about, Taj Duke. Taj Duke is a 6'3" point guard. He was a first-team JUCO All-American this past season, Toronto native. So here go the Bonnies again, going back to Canada, getting the Canadian roots. He averaged 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists at JUCO Indian Hills, which, kind of fun fact, Braden Jackson, who was just at Bonnies, he just transferred to Indian Hills to go JUCO. So good luck to Braden. Hopefully, works his way back up to D1. But Taj Duke started his career at D1 Pepperdine and then went down the JUCO route and worked out for him. Had an incredible season, like I just said, first team JUCO All American. Now he's coming to play for the Bonnies. He projects as the starting point guard right now, and I think I'm not going to say that. I'm going to save that point for when we get to this guy that I'm hovering over. Don't say his name. I know you see it though. I'm going to save that point for when we get to him. But Tajah Duke, very solid player, can pass the ball with anybody. I posted his highlight mixtape on our Instagram, so go check that out at Inside the RC on Instagram. Shameless little plug right there. And his highlights are good. This kid can pass the ball, true facilitator. I felt like last year the Lions didn't really have a facilitator. I feel like Desante Bone would get some assists here and there, but he just didn't really feel like a facilitator. It felt like his assists were like, I don't know. It just didn't feel like he was a great facilitator. But yeah, Tajah Duke, very excited for him to be wearing the brown and white.
Yeah, at Pepperdine though, he struggled a little bit. He was out in the West Coast Conference. It was his freshman year, so take everything with a grain of salt. He
Mhm.
showed great development, but he didn't shoot very well. He only averaged 0.8 assists a game, but he was also only playing around 8 minutes per game.
Yeah.
So we'll see what his role is, and if he's able to recreate what he was able to do in the JUCO route. I think I'm very confident he has the talent. I saw those highlights too. He's a very talented player.
Mhm.
But will that be able to translate to D1 and
Yeah.
the A10 conference play?
It's a question with a lot of these guys. You could ask that same question about Filipkowski, about Bill. It's going to be the same question. How well will these guys translate? And we were asking the same questions last year about some guys. And Caden Charles was one of a lot of people's favorite players on this team. One of the most physical guys. One of the guys that showed the most heart. And if you have a team full of guys like that sounds pretty exciting to me. But next up, a guy who I wasn't really expecting too much, but him and Duke kind of committed around the same time, which is funny because this guy is also an Ontario native, another Canadian guy, Ryan Calambi, a 6'9" center. And this is another stat via SP Unfurled, the GOAT with these stats. Calambi was one of 12 players in the country with a 12% or higher offensive rebound and 8% or higher block rate. I like those numbers a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you. I really like those numbers a lot. Offensive rebounding was definitely a struggle for the Bonnies last year, and block rate. They had Andrew Osasui, who obviously committed to Georgia, going to the SEC. So you don't have him anymore. You need to make up for that block rate. You have Joe Grahovic, but having another guy like this, who I don't think he'll start. I assume Benjamin Bill will start, but he's a guy that can give Bill a rest if he needs it, and you actually have a solid backup, and you don't have to get nervous when Benjamin Bill comes out of the game. You know you have a guy that you can trust behind him.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like his offensive rebounding and his blocking, it just adds such another presence down low that we lost Osasui, who was a huge blocker.
Yeah.
But having to bring in him, that will help that blocking. Him and Grahovic will be able to block almost anyone's shot in the A10. And his offensive rebounding, that'll be another huge thing that we're losing from Frank Mitchell, but we're getting it right back here. And this guy, he might become some of the old heads' favorite player
Yeah.
because Frankie DeBari reported that one of the reasons why he committed to St. Bonaventure is his new cybersecurity program.
I saw that on Twitter. Yeah,
So this
that was
is
very cool.
more of an old school athlete. He takes his academics
I
seriously.
love it. I
He's
love
in the
it.
classroom, might boost the team's GPA a little bit,
Good.
but
You need a
he
guy
can
like
also
that.
contribute on the court in huge ways. I'd love to see more of the offensive side of the game progress, but right now those physical sides, those defensive sides, they're there, and he could develop into a great player for this Bonaventure team coming off the bench.
Quick shout out, Frankie DeBari. Great
Yeah.
article right there. Is that for
In
mid-major
media.
mid-major media? Check out Frankie DeBari and all his articles over there. One of the best people on St. Bonaventure's campus, I would
100%.
say. I mean, just incredible article. Make sure you check it out. Shout out Frankie. But yeah, Calambi, you know what he's gonna do. He's a little bit of a raw talent. Like he kind of reminds me of when Osasui came here a little bit. Just kind of didn't really look like he knew what he was doing all the time out there. But with a little bit of coaching, I don't see why he can't be a very serviceable bench piece. Next up, someone I'm very excited about, another Rochester native, Mason Blackwood. Another, I think, was he a former 4-star? I believe he was I believe he was a 4-star, committed to Penn State, who, yes, they're in the Big Ten, not one of the better Big Ten teams, but still, the Big Ten basketball coming out of high school. I mean, that's a big step right there. Did not have a great year at Penn State and also very limited time. So, like we said, take it with a grain of salt. He's a big wing. He's great defensively, great offensively, can switch. Like we said, I keep saying it. It's great to have these big wings who can really guard 2 through 4. Like this guy's 6'7", a big kid. He can guard anybody, and he's young. He's a sophomore. I mean, his freshman year, he did not play that much. So being able to have a guy like this is another guy that you hope can become a cornerstone for this program for the coming years. I mean, he's a local guy, like we said, Rochester, and if you can get him to stick around, I think this program will be in very good shape coming next season.
Yeah, another guy from Rochester committed shortly thereafter. He's also following McDonald from Damon,
Hmm.
Ryan Heath. He's a 5'11" point guard. Um, he only he was an all tournament member of this Damon team.
Hmm.
He might not be the best player from Damon that we got, but he's still going to be a solid contributor. He's a great athlete, great
Yeah.
player, and he knows the McDonald system. That's so important when making this new coaching system that you have guys with experience. Having three guys come from Damon with McDonald's is going to be huge for the development of this team and huge for McDonald's to be able to integrate his system onto this new band of Bonnies.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go back to my point guard point that I was gonna make in 1 second, but Mason Blackwood, who I just mentioned, him and Ryan Heath played basketball together. I don't know if it was high school or AAU, but they both Rochester natives. They played together, so that's already familiarity. I don't know, I'm not saying that right. That they have with each other. They know each other. They've played with each other before, and that's great. And same thing with Mason Blackwood with Akbar Wahid. When Mason Blackwood committed to Bonaventure, Wahid was already committed. Wahid tweeted out like that's my guy or something like that. Like they like each other, they know each other already, and that's just great to see. That's the type of stuff you want to see. But going back to my point that I was going to make about the point, so the point guard room right now is as follows: Tajah Duke, Ilya Ermakov, and Ryan Heath. I do believe Tajah Duke starts. I do believe Ryan Heath is the third point guard who will not play that much, but but Ryan Heath has played for Mike McDonald for a couple of years now. He knows the system. Like you said, all Greater Rochester player of the year, all tournament team this past season, averaged 10, 3, and 3, and a steal. Guy's a good basketball player. He knows the system. He can be a guy who, while these point guards are starting above him, Duke and Ermakov, they're young guys. They're both what are they sophomore and junior. They're not veteran guys yet. Heath has been around while he was a D2 guy. He's been around. He knows what he's doing. He knows the system well. And I think that is what his main role is going to be. He probably came here for not a lot of money, and he is going to be like another assistant coach almost. I guarantee Ryan Heath will be one of the guys that the second someone makes a basket, he's the first guy up to give him a high five or something. He is going to be a vibes guy on this team, and I really think he is going to help the point guards develop into better players and help them understand Coach McDonald's system.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like Heath, he brings some depth too.
Mm-hmm.
Last year we struggled with injuries a lot.
Exactly.
So having Heath, having Lenati, Irmakov, Wahid, backing up Duke and Philip Pikowski, it just creates so much depth at that point guard and shooting guard position where we didn't have that last year. By the A10 tournament, poor Buddy Simmons and Caden Charles and
Yeah.
Desante Bowen were playing the whole game, and we could see that by the third game of the tournament where they're all beat down. So having this depth is such a good cushion because injuries are going to happen. Hopefully they don't happen, but that's unlikely. So having this depth with Heath, with Lenati, Ermakov, Wahid, and the whole team, there's so much more depth I feel like this year than there was last year.
Oh, definitely. Like you need that depth because, like we said, injuries are going to happen. Like it's not like you don't want it to happen, but at the end of the day, it's going to happen. It's probably going to happen. The last guy who just committed a couple of days ago to St. Bonaventure, another guy I'm very excited about personally, Ari Fulton, 6'7", big guy, can play. Excuse me, can play the 2, the 3, arguably the 4. He played at NJIT past couple seasons. He averaged 11 points and 6 rebounds off the bench, earned second team All America East, excuse me. But I mean, he stayed at the school. He stayed at NJIT for 2 years, so love to have him here. The 3-pointer, however, was not there. 26% from 3 last year. But when I was watching his highlights, obviously it's highlights. They're going to put the best stuff in there. The shot looks good. Like it doesn't like some guys you see their jump shot and you're like, I can see why you shoot 25% from 3. This guy, it looks better than a 26% from 3 guy. But one thing that they love about him, he gets to the line. He gets to the free throw line. He's a 79% free throw shooter, so very solid from there. And he averaged 28 minutes off the bench in 33 games played this season. Like I already said, 11 points, 6 rebounds, an assist. I mean, those are very solid numbers coming off the bench in the America East, which it's not the same as the A10, but it's definitely very comparable. A guy you guys might want to compare him to is an Amari Marshall. Amari Marshall was a very solid player in the America East for a couple years and then came to Bonas. And in his limited action, I'd say he was pretty good. He was very good in his role. Ari Fulton might be in a similar role that he was in NJIT. I mean, looking at the guys above him, I don't know if there's a starting spot for him on this team, but he could very well earn that in practices and summer stuff. But if he doesn't, he knows how to come off the bench and be a weapon and be very successful.
He also has a little bit of a clutch factor.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I heard he was visiting, I got excited because I thought of the clip that he made this past year. In the American East Conference semifinals, they were facing off against Maine, and he hit a shot with seconds left on the clock to give them a 60-58 lead.
That's great.
So he comes off the bench. He can come off the bench and deliver that clutch factor. I feel like that's something we kind of lacked this year.
Yeah.
There wasn't much clutchness on the team. There's a couple guys who would knock down a clutch shot, but then they would make a boneheaded decision and cost us in the long run.
Yeah.
We didn't have a guy that could close out a game or help us win a close game. And maybe Fulton, maybe he can be one of those guys that can close out a close game or maybe put in another buzzer beater.
Yeah, because like you said, that's a skill. As much as people might not think it is, that is a true skill. Being able to close out games and have that it factor about you that you want the ball in your hands at this time. And they call him a guard on ESPN. 6'7", 205 pounds. That's a big guard.
Yeah.
I mean, that's you compare it to last season. Just comparing our guards last year, Desante Bowen was like 6'2", Buddy Simmons was 5'10", and Kane Charles was like 6'2", 6'3". And we have a 6'7" guard that might be on our bench. I mean, that's just such a bigger team from last season in the backcourt wise. And I think that'll just lead to so many more opportunities, whether that's getting in the paint, whether it's driving and kicking, all that sorts of stuff. That's just going to open up new opportunities for everybody. But that is where the Bonnie's lineup stands. At this point, they have one spot left. They have one spot left on their roster. And I believe I saw it on SB Unfurled. He agrees with me. I think I'm pulling up the tweet right now. They have on May 18th. So we're filming this on Tuesday, May 12th. May 18th is next Monday. Bol Thet. He is a 6'10 forward. He was a former Siena commit, but decommitted once Jerry McNamara announced he was going to Syracuse. He visited Maryland last week, and he is on a visit to St. Bonaventure on May 18th. This would be the perfect guy to fill the roster. A 6'10 forward, just a big kid. I watched his highlights a little bit. He can throw it down with the best of them. And he is going to be a freshman, so I wouldn't expect him to play a huge role in this team or anything. But as we've said for a lot of these guys, he could earn a spot. I mean, a lot of these guys, you have to earn your spot in the offseason. None of these spots, yes, the starting lineup is here and the second string guys. Nothing is guaranteed right now. These guys have to earn these roles, and in due time, I think they will. I really do think they will. But yeah, we will update you guys when we know more, once the team's finalized. But it's kind of a dead point right now. We're kind of waiting for the one last guy, waiting on visits. They had a Lemoyne guy here. Well, he was supposed to come on a visit, and then he ended up not coming. He committed to Illinois State. But definitely very interesting. Transfer portal era is just, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see how McDonald's defines this Bonnie's team with their schedule too. Because there's a lot of stuff with the non-conference schedule where you wonder if that's more of a Schmidt thing compared to a Bonaventure thing. So maybe he can redefine some of this non-conference schedule. We're deep in the offseason where we're talking about what our non-conference schedule could look like. But with where we're targeting players in recruiting, I would love for us to go to Buffalo every year to either play UB, Canisius, or Niagara. We've done it before. We should keep doing that.
Exactly.
Maybe go back to Rochester. They used to play games at the War Memorial Center. Maybe play one or two games each year at the War Memorial Arena. Maybe go to Syracuse.
Yeah, that'd be so sweet playing in the
play in the dome.
That'd be sweet. Honestly, playing against Syracuse, they need to play against Syracuse. They used to, don't anymore. I want it to happen. I want them to play. against Syracuse. We need it. Like, I don't care
Mhm.
if we lose. And honestly, I think we could give Syracuse a run for their money.
Yeah.
I think that would be a very good game. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add? That's the whole team so far, though.
Well, I think with the schedule too, with this team, we also see a huge focus on recruiting north of the border in
Hmm.
Canada.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
what's stopping us from going, playing a couple games, scrimmaging, instead of scrimmaging local teams, local D3 teams that we're going to beat up? Why don't we go to Canada, play some actual competitive Canadian basketball teams,
That'd be cool.
show some American, well, show what we can offer to these Canadian players we're playing against,
Hmm.
maybe Canadian players watching the game. It would just make us such more appealing
Yeah, and
to these
expand.
Canadian players, expand our pool of players that we're recruiting.
I like that. I'd be down for it. We gotta
Yeah.
talk with McDonald, see what he thinks about it. I think that'd be a great idea just to get the Bonnie name out there more. Coach McDonald talked about how he wants to get the Bonnies to be one of the premier upstate, like Western upstate New York
Hmm.
basketball programs. He wants people to want to come here. But like I said, we'll update you guys when we know more about the Bonnies depth chart. I mean, it's all of it's very subjective right now. Don't like take everything with a massive grain of salt because at this point last season, no one could have guessed Caden Charles was going to be starting and been one of our best players, and he was one of our best players. But hope everybody enjoyed the video. Make sure to comment any questions or anything like that you guys have for us. Yeah, we hope everybody enjoyed. Check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Inside the RC. We'll be posting all the commitments, all news, if anyone's coming on visits, stuff like that. Yeah, hope everyone enjoyed. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
To anyone who can truly say that they have found